Welcome and thank you to the first episode of the World's Beautiful Game podcast. My name is Goose here alongside my brother.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Will. Happy to be here and talk about some footy.
Welcome in, guys. This is our first ever venture into the world of football, soccer. We call it soccer for the most part because we grew up here in the States, obviously. And don't get mad at us. We didn't invent the word. The English did. We still love the English game. We love the game in general around the world, and we just wanted to introduce ourselves. I'm not a professional by any means in any scenario, but I've grown up and I love soccer since I was a baby in the crib, as well as my brother. He had a little more experience in the game. Played in high school on a state championship team. Went to college and played also on a amateur Fenerbahce team as well. So we bring a little insight here from what we watch. We're heavy Premier League, Manchester United fans for sure. But we just want to get into it. We're excited to talk about, especially this weekend that just passed, the FA Cup quarterfinal between United and Liverpool, which really really made us get into recording this podcast to get the ball rolling. So here we go, and then we're just gonna start off quickly by just saying how excited we are about the result last weekend. It's about to be a week. Oh no, it is a week today. Since that scenario, man, Will, tell us how did you see? I know you didn't get to watch it, but you watched the highlights, and obviously we chatted about it in our United group chat. How did you see it go down?
Yeah, it was definitely exciting to see. Was not expecting a big result out of United. I was expecting them to kind of maybe come out decent and then eventually fold and not pull it off, just based on how inconsistent United have been. And it was definitely a relief to see that they actually decided to perform well, and they brought it to a rival, because we definitely are not Liverpool fans. So, and United usually always want to perform against Liverpool because historically it's always been a rivalry, and sadly it hasn't really been recently because we've kind of been on the back burner. But it was a great result, and it was good to see that they definitely stepped it up and brought it to them. So it was definitely exciting to see all the guys that we have, and again, we still have those injuries, but still everybody showed up today. So that was, showed up that game. So that was a big result.
Hey, super big. I think one of the biggest things that we can touch upon is, especially because of the lack of goals coming into this game. I know Hoyland was on fire before he got injured. Wasn't really big in this game, but Rashford and Anthony coming through with some clutch goals, even after Rashford had failed to win it for us in regular time. Um, Crazy big for him to come up with that goal, and for Anthony to score with his right foot, which is crazy. Against big VVD, the best player according to everyone now, who forgets about Vidic and Ferdinand. But I think some big motivational going into the rest of the season, along with obviously the next round. Who now we have Coventry coming up, which is great and potentially disastrous, because one thing you like to say a lot is United plays down to the competition, but maybe this motivates United to really step up heading into that semifinal afterwards. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, those guys picked up big time. They stepped it up, and of course, always our unsung hero, or I don't even know, I wouldn't even call him unsung anymore because he's just been stepping it up all the time, is McTominay. He's definitely he's proven just to show up every time that goal he scored. He was just right place, right time. Garnacho taking his shots, which he likes to do, which is good to see. And then keeper gave up a rebound, and McTominay was there to put that away. So it's definitely good to see that. It's kind of good all around. That game kind of showed everybody. Even I'm the biggest I don't want to say I'm a hater, but Onana, I definitely, I do not like him. I don't think he's really that good. I don't think he's really. I wouldn't even say just United level. I don't think he's Premier League. But he actually stepped up that entire game and he played well. So I have to give him his props and kudos. The team all around. There was little things like Bruno going to sit back at center back to bring the ball out. People are like, what are they doing? But that's what the captain does. He has to sacrifice his his role sometimes to go do something else. You had Maguire going up for shots and everything, so it was fun. Whatever system they were going with, it worked out pretty well. So it was definitely new, and it was good to see these guys, and especially the youngins, Mino and Garnacho, just put in that work and definitely show what is a potential if we can stay consistent.
Oh, for sure. And I think another shout out for Ahmad too. After some of the drama that he went through, like just a week shy of that game where he had even, I think, deleted all his posts on his social, Instagram in particular, that related him to United, and him for him to step up and come clutch in that final goal to seal the victory, I think was huge. McSauce the boss, yeah, I mean, he's like an enigma, man. Sometimes like you scratch your head because he's like he reminds me of when Smalling was in the box for every corner kick, and you always thought something stupid was going to happen. But on the other side, he has come through clutch time and time again this season when we haven't had those goals, and he again puts in a goal. He was cramping up. Bruno was cramping up. Um, uh, One super particular incident, I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, in that counter at the end where Ahmad scored. He was in there, won the header, I believe, that caused the ball to come out of the box and have that whole breakaway take place. But huge for the team to step up like they did. All five subs were made. I'm pretty sure they were Ten Hag was playing like a desperate 3-5-2, 3-3-2-5 at the end. If I'm not, I feel like that's what was going on. But he got the better of Liverpool with the better of Klopp, and their team wasn't no B team. They had pretty much everyone in the lineup. Somehow United pulled through, which is amazing. Which now really puts us into um, some positive mojo going into the next few games of the season here, because with with as many English teams still in the Champions League, there's a potential for a fifth spot. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but they're there. I mean, I know we're still 6 points back of Villa, I'm pretty sure, or Tottenham. I can't remember which of the two. But it's a it's a three horse race to that last spot. And United can't lose. We need some results to go our way for that to really become a thing. But and Hoyland's back. I think I saw Martinez is back on international duty, so that potentially means he's back soon as well for us, which is big. Which gives us more depth going into the rest of the season that we haven't had with the injuries that have occurred. Shaw still being out, but Wan-Bissaka stepped in amazingly. Delos played great. We just need that center back pairing to be on point too. So a lot of things coming here after this big result for United.
Yeah, definitely great. We got to highlight the shortcomings, of course. We had a lot of different plays. Naturally, to be honest, the goals, yes, they were Liverpool were lucky. A lot of deflections. We did have a few times where the defense fell back and they just kind of just let it go. The first goal that Endo had offsides, that was a very close call. We got lucky with that one, and they should have definitely that could have easily been a goal. They fell asleep on that one. Salah's goal, he was open. The defense kind of fell back and just let him again the deflections and everything. So I'll give them a bit of a pass. But these things, as far as they have to fix even for the final games of the season, the Premier Leagues, for them to try to secure that final spot. So they have a few things they still need to fix, but like you said, that center back pairing needs to communicate a little more with the midfield because if the center backs are being pulled and the midfield fails to come back, that's where we'll see the issues. But overall, it was definitely an exciting match, definitely a good win, and now it's on to Coventry and got to step it up because Coventry's definitely they're gonna come in and try to win it. I mean, they're almost there. So for them, this is an exciting time and it's good to see that. On the other end, naturally, Chelsea City is going to be a great matchup, and United can't get too ahead of themselves and think who are they playing in the final because they have to play Coventry first. That's going to be an important matchup. Yes, they like to even if they're not playing down to the level, but they just if they don't bring that same intensity that they did against Liverpool, they're going to suffer. And it's going to be another week where we're just going to watch them and say, why? What are they doing? Like what changed? So it'll be interesting. We'll see what it brings. I'm excited and I definitely want to see another result and if we can at least get this trophy, that's not a loss, it's not a bad not the worst of seasons with zero trophies. And hopefully, yeah, that that fifth spot earns us a Champions League position to get us through to that way next year be able to finally compete and hopefully healthy players.
A lot of things you touched on there. For one, just to preview a little later what we're going to be talking about, but seeing what team comes to the field, that's a big thing with the U.S. men's national team heading into the final here. So that's something we'll talk about here in a little bit. Um, and with the fifth spot and what that does for United if they're able to get into the Champions League, not just Champions League money, but financially, apparently now their Adidas deal is that they're going to be reduced, I think, $10 million if they don't make every year they don't make the Champions League. So that's a big motivational factor. Not that the players are really thinking about that, but in terms of the club and what that will do with signings, I think is a big motivating factor here. So yeah, I mean, we definitely got to make sure that I say we because we're United fans, but yeah, United has to step up, man. And I tell you what, a lot's been going on with the rumors regarding coaching with United. Ten Hag, I think everyone has to give him his kudos and his props for doing what he did and telling the players to come out like they did in that second half. Who knows what that motivational speech was? I will say that I in our group chat was kind of down after Salah's goal off the post. I told them not to. I said they're playing great. I said it's just some bad bounces, some misfortune. I was positive that it looked like we could get a result from the game, which they did, which is amazing. But what do you think about Ten Hag and his future? To me, I think he's worth keeping to progress United once he really is able to put his fingerprint on what he wants, what players he needs, and what players he's going to bring in because he's inherited the mess from Ole and Mourinho. It's most of the same players. Obviously, there was some big signings. The Anthony signing is one that he did bring in that everybody is really disgusted with because of the production. I don't know. I'm one of those that can't blame the guy for how much the team paid for him because he didn't ask for them to pay that much. But yes, he does need to produce more. But so does everyone on United. Everyone United has been at fault this season for the way they've played. Um, and all I'll say for Anthony is that he's done what the coach has asked, and he's played his time, and now he's seeing the bench as I think anyone who's not performing should be. But I think to me, Eric Ten Hag has really done the best he has been able to do with what team he's had, with the injuries, with the lack of production. So to me, I feel like there's no reason to get rid of him. Winning an FA Cup would be great. Obviously, it's not everything that we want at United, but because of how it's been the last 10 plus years with really lack of trophies, I think it's a step in the right direction. Again, if he does win us this trophy, obviously we have 2 games to play. It would be great to see him get that trophy. But what do you think of Erting Hag? I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about what's happening.
Well, I think he's going to. I don't know if he's going to stay. To be honest with you, I think he should stay. He, I think he's a quality enough coach. He showed it at Ajax for many years. Naturally, they didn't have the resources that United do, but they were clearly pulling players that are playing at top level now. And Ajax, he took him to the Champions League final. So he has the quality. It's just I think any coach in the United system is just not going to be able to do it as long as that the back office. I think the back office is ultimately the problem. I think he should stay. I think they need to give him time. His record is not as terrible as people are making it out to see. But the problem is he's on a top team, big clubs. You can't have coaches at big clubs not perform to the standard that they want them, aka making the top three. You don't go into big teams and not show results. So even if the problem is nobody sees it, they just say the coach doesn't know what he's doing, the coach isn't doing well, but they don't see the issues with the back office. The him signing Anthony. Anthony was pretty much the second or third option that he had in mind. He wanted a few other options, but United wouldn't pull the trigger. And it's always the back office like, oh, but United do spend, yes, but they do it last minute after they pretty much broke negotiations with every other team because they weren't willing to pay that much, and then they wind up splashing the cash anyways on another player that isn't worth it all. But those clubs see that United's desperate, and so they don't budge from the price. So I just think Ten Hag has the right idea, and he will pull in the right players if United actually learn how to negotiate better. Yes, we know that they're always going to inflate the prices, but that they need to negotiate better. There's definitely some type of issue further than Ten Hag, and I think getting rid of him wouldn't do us any good. And I don't think any coach that can come in will will change that much unless you bring back Sir Alex, which obviously that's not happening. So I think I think sadly he's going to be out the door, but I don't want to see him go. So we'll see what happens when the season comes to an end, but we'll see. Like I said, I'm not very optimistic in that department, sadly.
And when it comes to final predictions for this season with the Premier League, who do you got top three? I think City still comes out with it. I think Liverpool um, might crash and burn in the end, and I still don't think Arsenal are there yet. And not even after last season. I just feel like sometimes um, they can be their own worst enemy. I feel like the only team that really controls their own destiny is Man City. City always seems to pull out those victories, even when they're having a rough game. Arsenal at times seem to just implode after having big games. So I'm not really focused on what happened last season, saying that's why they're gonna choke. I just at times feel like they still don't have the real X factor that's gonna give them the season. To me, Saka's only an okay player. Everybody says he's this crazy talented kid. He's good. I don't think he's what everyone is trying to make him out to be. Because I mean, he does the same thing as some of the other players do. He's not a clutch player. So I feel like to say someone's world class, you really have to be a notch above, which I don't feel he is. And that's not hate. I just from what I see, I feel like he gets a little overhyped because he's an English player. So in the media, they're gonna say he's one of the talents that England has. I mean, they just recently lost 1-0 to Brazil at home. So that was terrible. I don't think he played in that game. I'm not blaming him for that, but I guess that doesn't really make the point there. My bad. But no, just seeing him play sometimes. We're both in a league, in a fantasy league, in the EPL fantasy league. I don't even have him because he's so inconsistent. He does well every other game, maybe every other two games. He'll get you some points, but he's not like a guy that you captain every week because he just doesn't do it for me. But they have great players. Odegaard, obviously, he's I feel like he's trying to become like the next Tony Cruz or something. Because my man with some pace though, because he's good, man. I think that was one that Real Madrid regrets probably not keeping. And then Gabi Jesus, he's another inconsistent guy, always injured. And Martinelli, to me, he hasn't become just like soccer. He hasn't become this, Neymar type of talent. He's a talented kid, but doesn't is not clutch. Like these kids are coming up, they're really good. They could become that, but I feel like there's too much inconsistency when it comes to their game. So that to me, that's why Arsenal is not going to win the league. I think it might. I think I'm going to go. I'm gonna go City, Arsenal, Liverpool. I think is what it comes down to in the end. And I don't know about you, but what do you say to the top three in the end of the season?
I definitely have to kind of go against everything you're saying there. I think Arsenal are finally going to pull it off this season. I think they're showing a little bit of a different pace than they did last year. Last year they started breaking down at this point, and that's where they really started giving away the matches, and that's where they wound up falling short. I think I think with that, the blow of last year of doing that, they have that experience where they're kind of saying, okay, well, we know what happened last season. We can't have that. I think they're going to be able to hold the lead and kind of see out their matches throughout the rest of the season. I think they definitely have it in them to finally win it. I know they really have their toughest match. They have to go up against to end the season. They have City is really coming up, and I think that's what's going to really decide whether they can win this league or not. Once they play City, I think we'll be able to tell where they finish off. But I'm gonna go with Arsenal. I'm gonna go Arsenal, Liverpool, and yeah, I'm just gonna the way it is right now. I think Jurgen Klopp finishes second on his final season. I know they're gonna push to try to win it, but I think Arsenal's gonna be able to hold the reins and kind of stare forward. And when it comes to Saka, yes, he's an English player, so he's going to be overhyped. That's just constantly the same way Rashford was that same hype when he was young, and sadly, he's not doing it anymore. And he's not young. He's of course he's young. He's 26, 27, but he's not a wonder kid anymore. So he's getting the same hype that Rashford was when he's young, but he's not a superstar level. He's not a Jude Bellingham. So that's pretty much the only English player that you can really say is a superstar right now. That is
I mean,
just
Harry Kane. You can't knock Harry Kane. He's the
he's not
only
a kid. I'm
English
saying
goal scorer.
as far as kids, I'm talking. Harry Kane, yeah, Harry Kane is top level, but he's no longer a kid. So world class players, English world class players, or at least that are young that you can call that are already are performing at that level. I would give it to
You gotta be Foden. That's who I at
Foden.
this.
That's my three guys would be Foden, Bellingham, and Declan Rice has been top class this season. This season, of course, it's not.
I like
You
that
know,
shout out. I like the Declan. I like that position shout out because not everybody gives them their props.
a lot of midfielders, especially defensive midfielders, will always get overlooked because they're not going to be in the highlights. Really, they're going to do the plays. They're going to create the plays that are going to get you to the. Are just going to get you to the goal, but you won't see that back work until you just see the assist or the goal. And sometimes they get forgotten about. But yeah, I think these guys are definitely performing. I don't think. Yeah, I think Saka's definitely. If he's on it, he's on it. But if he's not, he's really not. So I think as far as I wouldn't put them in that category, but I still think Arsenal are gonna be
What,
consistent enough. I
what
know with all the injuries, like you said, Gabriel Jesus usually getting hurt, but I think they've been able to basically understand that he's that's gonna happen, and I think they have the pieces enough pieces to stay consistent and finish strong.
so Arsenal's your top. Who's two and three?
Yeah, it's the same way it was Arsenal, Liverpool, City.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely different. I don't know. I definitely, disagree, obviously, but we'll see what it comes down to. I think at this point, strength of schedule means nothing. It's really shit because if you're playing bottom teams that are in relegation, those games are just as hard as playing Man City or Liverpool at the end of the season. So
Yeah,
Obviously, not the same
personally,
quality, but it's hard. It's a hard schedule in the season, last 10 games.
I think the bottom teams are actually going to be tougher at the end of the season because they're fighting for relegation. So they're definitely going to give it their all. If whatever teams are fighting at the bottom, they don't want to get relegated. So I think those games are actually going to be a lot tougher because people sometimes fail to realize that, hey, like these teams are fighting to stay in the Premier League versus you thinking, oh, it's just another, this should be an easy match. It's definitely going to be, those are the matches that they got to look out for because they don't care what results the big teams are trying to get. They're trying to pretty much fight for their lives and stay in the Premier League. So I think, yeah, that towards the end of the season, it's not going to be a cakewalk for any of the teams because these bottom guys are definitely gonna give it their all and pretty much show them hey, we're trying to stay here. So it'll be interesting.
I'll tell you what, speaking of bottom teams, Nottingham Forest fans I just saw earlier are pissed off at Nuno Espirito Santo because they're wondering why Gio hasn't played for them after the performance he put on against Jamaica the other day. I know he didn't score, but he had 2 assists, and he was the player that boosted the U.S. into attack mode in that second half. And obviously, he's the one. He's the reason why. He's part of the reason why the U.S. wound up winning that game in the end. Um, but yeah, man. Let's move on to the U.S. Speaking of, and that awful game that we had to endure, heading into a double extra time for no reason. Um, Giving up that early goal, defensive mistakes, terrible goalkeeping. One thing that you as a goalkeeper, I ask you all the time is, how you feel about a keeper playing that's not playing every week with their club team. Turner, to me, that he could have saved that if he was in a better position. I don't blame Joe Scally. A lot of people are putting blame on Joe Scally for that play. It was more his help in the middle didn't didn't see the run from the guy who winds up heading the ball for Jamaica to score the goal. And on the other side, Robinson didn't defend the throw in well either to let that ball come across for that header. So a lot happened in that first minute of the game. The rest of the game, Jamaica, I think their game plan might have been, hey, if we score, we're blocking it down, Mourinho style, park the bus. Let's not let anything come through because the U.S. look lost. All that hype, I was ready to hype Pulisic for his scoring, I think 4 or 5 last games from AC Milan. He looked lost, not lost, but they weren't letting him do anything. Weston winding up having to play right back towards the end of the game because Joe Scally did get that yellow in the first half of the game, and Weah didn't perform for the U.S. Putting terrible balls into the box. I need you to try to shed the light on this for me because I don't understand against a team like Jamaica why with not a huge striker in the box you're playing crosses instead of going to the end line, finding the late runners to put the ball to score some goals. To me, I would have liked to see Malik Tillman stay on the game and maybe someone else be sacrificed. And whatchamacallit. And then in the end, getting lucky on a corner that I'm gonna say saved Berhalter's job because on a deflection from Robinson to the Jamaicans header to go into the goal, to give us a chance to even be sniffing a final here against Mexico. I'm really curious uh, as to if this is lighting a fire under their ass because it was like just like I said earlier, you don't know what team you're gonna get with United in the next game. You just know that game they performed like they did, and you can only hope that going into this final against Mexico tonight, that looks like I'm going to. I wasn't planning on it, but ticket prices did come down a little bit to go see it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you saw it. I know you were driving, so you had to watch highlights, but or did you listen to the game? I can't remember.
Oh no, I had it up and would every now and then glance, and I listened to of course I listened to it and I watched it. Uh, the first goal I did watch over and over on a replay. It's a little different than I feel. I feel it's different. I think Robinson, well, the throw-in, first of all, was a horrible throw-in. I don't even know how that was a legal throw-in, but I guess
They
throwing
never
rules
call
change.
those. I don't know why they never
Yeah,
call.
those the throwing rules change all the time. So the problem with that situation was I don't fully blame Robinson on that one. He had a different mark. He saw his mark. His mark went over. They called for the switch, and he didn't. So he tried to react, but he did react. He just couldn't get the ball. So he didn't settle the ball,
Yeah,
and then
he was in an awful defensive position once the
I
throwing
wouldn't say
came in.
that. I wouldn't
No,
say he was in awful.
I just mean what I mean when I say that is that when the guy got the ball, there was his body was in an awkward position to get a good because he what he did was he lunged. He wound up having to lunge, and the guy took
Well, yes, because it was
advantage
on a
of it.
switch.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
yes, so it was on a switch, so therefore, I wouldn't fully blame him. It was just a defensive lapse. It wasn't nothing. That whole play was just all the United States were all completely out. I do blame Scally. I think he also lost his positioning because same thing. He saw his defender pull forward and then he actually went towards the ball. I'm not sure why. And then the cross, then you had the player coming from the back door, which he never saw on the switch. So it wasn't just his fault because the midfield was asleep there because when those players switched up, Scally left him, and I believe it was Musa
Yeah,
who was
that.
near him.
But that's what I'm saying. A lot of people putting the blame on Scally. I'm not completely blaming
Uh,
Scally because he got caught. He got caught in two minds. He reacted to the his runner leaving. He took a step, and at that point, the other guy was behind him for the header. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Musa that didn't stay with his mark. Everybody was ball watching, so Scally
yep,
got caught.
everybody.
Scally
So
got caught in the crossfire there, and unfortunately, because he reacted to his guy leaving, he couldn't react to the guy behind him who got a free header, basically.
yeah, that's why. Well, I definitely put the blame on Scally because as a defender, you're supposed to be aware of your surroundings. He never saw that guy for a moment, so he saw his mark. He never looked to see who else was there. The back door is the most annoying position to let go of because that's constantly where you're supposed to was I don't know what he was looking forward. I don't know why he was trying to come for the ball when you can tell it was going to be a cross, and even if it wasn't, there was another defender there that he would have had to go through. So for him to give that up, I still definitely I do put blame on him, but yeah, I think it was Matt Turner 100%. The reaction was super slow. The same he had time. He set up. It's not like it was just like a last second reaction. He got his
He
footing.
he
He
dove
got his
into
footing.
the
He
net.
looked and well, yeah, that's natural. That's gonna happen. But he got his footing in there. He had plenty of time. It's just the header was apparently too strong for him and too quick, and he couldn't react fast enough. His reactions were a bit slow. So, which I think are a lack of
Playing time. Yeah,
yep, I think it's a lack of playing time. So he definitely not so much, not so much fully lack of playing time, but the confidence to build up because naturally they practice enough where their reactions are there. It's just I think that that confidence isn't there anymore because he's benched, and so coming to the U.S., yeah, it gives him a bit of confidence, but. Overall, yeah, the match was just horrible. I think it was just a bunch of individual guys that are playing in Europe now that came to the US and said, "Hey, we're all big dogs here and let's not play like a team," because I didn't see any quality possession. I didn't see any quality movement.
no, not till Gio came on. Absolutely not. There was
So in the
nothing.
first half,
That was
it was just 11 individual players. I didn't see anything. I didn't see that McKinney that for Juventus that was playing great, that was just playing limited touches. Pulisic as well. Pulisic was holding the ball for dear life as if it was stuck to his foot. I think I think just all around they were all just playing an individual ball, which was horrible.
one of
And I
our
think that
one of our boys called it when you're talking about the Pulisic thing. Is like if he hadn't gotten fouled or someone didn't take the ball off of that foul that led to the assist to the goal, like he didn't pass that ball that game. You're right.
yeah, I think he was definitely. I think they all lacked. I think that the changes were great. I don't necessarily think that goal saved Berhalter's job. I think it doesn't really matter what he does. He's going to stay. Naturally, his brother's in. I think the U.S. has kind of got a pretty bad system when it comes to the federation because it seems like Berhalter should have never gotten hired back. Personally, I don't think he's a good coach at all. He never did anything for the United States. I didn't see anything special out of them. I don't think he gets the best out of the players. And naturally, they're going to defend him because they're that's their coach. For until he gets fired, that's kind of you have to. You can't really badmouth. And obviously, we saw the Geo situation. But I think, I think the lineup that he went with, he had it right. On paper, it looked great, but when they came out, they looked like, yeah, they looked like they were too good to play ball. As if when they go back to their clubs, they aren't just pretty much those utility players that are like, hey, let's play. They're not. There's no superstar on the United States team on any of on their clubs where they're the go-to guy. So I don't understand why in the United States they thought that. So it was very frustrating to see. But I'm glad that he actually came in with great changes. Yeah, did he sacrifice a couple players like Tillman? Yes, but it looked like it was necessary. Sadly, he needed to change something, and he made the right changes because it didn't affect us in the way that defensively we had a couple of scares, but it looks like it was overall the right choice. I had called the score before the match 3-1,
You
so I
did.
had the right call, but
Not that
I
way
was
though.
not in that way whatsoever. I was not expecting that at all. We definitely got lucky. We got saved, and if tonight we play the same way against Mexico, it's gonna be it's gonna be disgusting to watch. So I think
I'm
we
ner-
need to.
I'm nervous, man. I'm nervous going to this game. It's gonna be not even a home game for the U.S. And yeah, like I can't even imagine
Yeah,
what's 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 coming.
you're going to an away match in Arlington, Texas, because you know that the Mexico fans are actually gonna show. And yeah, I'm surprised that the tickets haven't gone even lower because I wouldn't have thought it would have sold out, but this final is definitely going to sell. I'm sure
I
there's going to
mean,
be a lot more people to
it's always
Jamaica.
sold out because it's all secondary. I had to buy in the secondary market. You can't buy them unless you did
Yeah,
it a while ago. So
but
yeah,
Jamaica USA's showing is just god awful. The fact that they double booked that game is horrible. It pretty much was. It almost looked like
like
a bad college
it
team
looked like
because
the
the
U.S.
stadium
It
was.
looked like the U.S. women's game in what was it, California the other day, where they had like 3,000 fans. That's literally what I thought when I saw how many
Yeah.
U.S. fans. It was like the one section of AO fans, which is like 2,000 maybe, and then just like small spots of people in the rest of the stadium. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. Unfortunate situation. I definitely think they should have probably played the final somewhere in the Northwest, but it is a bit, I guess, a bit colder, so maybe not. Because I know places like Washington, Portland, those places would have definitely had a lot more U.S. And again, if that's if that's what the U.S. has to do to actually get a packed stadium while we're on home turf, it's got to be better. It was embarrassing, but apart from that, of course, back to the game, we definitely got lucky. I think it was the 62nd minute where Jamaica had a breakaway, and luckily he shot it right to Turner. At least Turner came out big, and he pretty much didn't give him a choice, and he made him shoot. It was a good coverage by, I believe it was. I don't remember who came back to cover that one, but he did get outpaced, but he stayed strong with him,
Oh, it
and
was
then
Richards got, and then who was that?
he got too relaxed. It was just a one-on-one. He got too relaxed on that, and then I mean, we also got lucky. Jamaica was missing pretty much half their core. So I don't even want to imagine what the game would have been like if those five guys would have been there. So it
Well,
definitely.
I don't want to say all that because it's a different Jamaica. It's a different Jamaica teams in terms of how they would have game planned. Because I think the reason the game went like it went was because their goal was if we get one, we park the bus and let them struggle. I think Jamaica with Mikel Antonio and well Leon Bailey. I don't know if he would have even been on the team after all the stuff he said about Jamaica, um, you know
Amari Gray. Yeah,
Gray suspended, so that's why he didn't play.
yeah.
So he wasn't going to be able to play regardless. But yeah, and the Cordova Reed looked good for Jamaica until they took him out. It looked like he got the better of Robinson that whole game. I feel like to me Robinson looked out of sorts. I don't know if you saw a lot of the highlights of him, but when I was watching him, he always seemed to get beat by the Cordova Reed. So I was surprised by that. But obviously he knows him from his own team, so that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, in the end, for all of this, it's a lot of the U.S. fan base. I know you especially don't like talking a lot with some people that are U.S. like AO people because they sometimes when they talk they just kind of don't know what they're talking about. And at this time, everyone seems to have the same opinion that Greg needs to go. Like, I don't know if you saw Tony Miola calling out Greg on the CBS network after the game, or I don't know if it was the next day.
I love listening to Tony Miola. I thought he was
So,
spot on with his broadcasting. He was like the Tony Romo of soccer. It was beautiful to see
but
him.
what I'm talking about is he's on a podcast. Well, he's not on a podcast, but him, Jimmy Conrad, and Jesse Marsh after we're talking about it because Greg Berhalter, instead of like talking about how shitty the game was, or at least like answering the questions about how bad that was, he deflected to something Jesse Marsh had said about players that came into the squad for this. And Tony Miola's like, "Oh, I don't know what Greg is even deflecting for." He's like, talk about your team's bad performance. He's like that was a bad performance that needs to be you know reflected on and not you deflecting to something outside of what your team did. And I thought it was great, man. Like I watched it this morning and I was just like, oh, Tony's giving him the business, man. And man, all those guys know each other. They played together, so but yeah, Tony, I love Tony Miller. So we're you for you especially goalkeeper, but U.S. legend, Metro Stars legend, U.S. legend. So yeah, I love Tony, man. Every time he's on the mic.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear the podcast. I'm gonna have to look for it. Definitely want to listen to that. It sounds very interesting. I want to hear what that was. But yes, throughout the game, I thought he was calling it great. And before we say anything else, I want to give a big ups to Jamaica because they played their part. They played amazing. They played an amazing role. I was not expecting them to play as good as they did. They parked the bus cool. They came in with a strategy. They scored and they were holding it down. They held it down the entire game, 90 minutes, and they got lucky, or we got lucky because we scored a goal. They scored a goal for us to let us go into overtime. So I think Hector played phenomenal for them in the back. I think he controlled that Jamaica line perfect. The fact that he was playing so well, it would be nice to see one of our center backs control it that comfortably. So I think Jamaica did a phenomenal job. Kudos to them, and massive respect to them for doing what they did with the players and pretty much throwing a team last minute together. I thought it seemed like they threw a last minute together, but they definitely they came out and did what they did what they were trying to do. So it was definitely nice to see that from a team. Naturally, not nice for us, but we got lucky and definitely pulled it off in overtime. And yeah, those substitutions definitely helped us. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to see what happens tonight. I want to see what lineup they're going to go with, and I'm a little scared, but hopefully we'll see what happens. I definitely do want to listen to that podcast because yes, the fact that Berhalter still doesn't take accountability for a horrible display, and you still want to deflect or do anything but take accountability. It shows how weak of a leader you are because any great leader is going to take responsibility for their actions when yeah the game should not have been anywhere close. We should have definitely handled the game easily. Jamaica played beautifully and we played horribly, so it's definitely definitely something to look into, and hopefully well these guys, being that they all played together, can shed some light and change that up because yeah I think he needs to go. I don't care what results he unless he wins a World Cup, and then I still won't back him, but I'll just be like, okay, he won a World Cup. That's about it.
Yeah, and I props to Jamaica. Yeah, for sure. Jamaica played an amazing game in terms of what they needed to do to make the U.S. suffer. They got unlucky a bit as well, but at least the result went in our favor. Whatever. But kudos to them for a big game. I was hoping a lineup would come up by the time that we recorded this, but nothing yet. Let's see what the U.S. brings to this matchup tonight because it's about to be spicy. I don't know what the stands are going to be like, but I'm about to find out. And
Good luck with that.
yeah, I mean, prediction from the game. What do you think is going to happen?
if if we get the second half US, I think oof,
I'm going 2-1 U.S. to win again.
I'm
I
gonna go
2-1
I'm
U.S. wins
gonna
again.
if the US pull it off, I'm gonna go 4-2. I think we win 4-2. I think
Wow,
it's
you
gonna
really
be
that many
I think
goals,
there's
huh?
going to be some goals. I mean, I know we're going to lack in defense. I don't know if Dest is going to play now that he's back from suspension. If we're going to get a hot-headed Dest, if we're going to get a level-headed Dest who's been playing pretty well. So that's going to be again. I didn't. Yeah, Scally just was seemed out of touch. I mean, he hasn't really played for the U.S., so I definitely wouldn't play him. I
Any changes you want to see to the lineup besides this?
I do think the middle needs to change. I think they either need to sacrifice
I think
Tillman
Gio's coming on.
or Musa. He, I think Gio earned his spot to come on. I think shockingly Haji, we haven't been a big fan of him at all, but Haji came in and he actually looked much different than that guy that showed up.
I you know I would prefer I think for this game a 4-4-2 lineup instead of that 4-3-3 we're playing. And seeing Haji and Pepe up top because Balogun, I don't know. I feel like the chemistry's not there yet.
Yeah, I feel like
And
Balogun's lacking. I think he's trying to do too much versus just Pepe knows when he comes in that he's just going to come and try to shoot. Like Pepe came in, same thing, and try to score.
I
And
think
Haji, same thing. Haji just he knew to play his positions, not really come back too much. I think Balogun was trying to move all over the place,
I agree. I
and
agree. Yeah.
and I think that definitely
I think he was taking up spaces for Pulley to come inside or even Weah.
yeah, Weah. Yeah, I
Um,
think Weah couldn't. Weah wasn't really doing much because he didn't really have room. Because I think they were just all trying to figure out what he was doing up top. And I like him, but I think he's just trying to prove himself to be like, hey, I'm the main guy. Which any player at that level that they're just trying to prove themselves. So he was just trying to do a little too much. So yeah, I'd prefer to see Pepe start or even Haji and. Yeah, like as far as you did before, I totally didn't even touch on that. But in the Jamaica game, like you said, those aerial threats, we were non-existent. I don't understand why we played high at all because Jamaica had it pretty much 100% of the time. So now we're going against Mexico, which
this game,
can
yes, yes, exactly.
level out the aerial threats. But even then, I
Well,
wouldn't
mix it
even.
up, but
I would
definitely
limit it because we looked horrible in those
the
decent
crosses.
service,
Yeah,
but yeah, the crosses were. I'm not gonna lie, the crosses were actually decent. The service was okay, but we just got to see
that
what
front
the
post
final
though.
product.
That
Yeah,
front post
so
though. I would put someone else on corners and not Pulley. I would put Pulley top of the box and let Weah take the corners, or I don't know. He can't get over
No,
the first post, man. It's so annoying.
yeah, yeah. Way I wouldn't put Way to put in. Way is definitely a good aerial threat, but I
Maybe
think
Gio.
yeah, if Geo comes in, yeah, I would say either Geo, if not, we'll see. I mean, even even Anthony Robinson. I would just put one of our backs. I would definitely say they would be one of the guys. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm hoping we can get a result. Any I don't care if it's 1-0 as long as we beat Mexico. That's always
That,
what we
that
want.
that's
So
what we want. That's exactly what we want. Let's go, man. I gotta go put on my tight fitting jersey. I got my man in the mirror shirt on. And let's just hope for a win, man. That's all we could ask for.
yeah, sounds good.
All right, man. And that's gonna conclude our pod, our first ever World's Beautiful Game podcast. We're so excited to share this with you guys. We've been wanting to do this forever. Hope you guys enjoy, and we will see you next time.
All right, guys.